Hello, everybody. Hello, panel.
Hello.
Hello.
As you've just heard, we've got quite an exciting panel with a very varied background. But the topic that brings everyone together is that they're at the top of their game or at the top of the world. Now, to start this discussion off, I want to start with what does being at the top of your game or the top of the world mean? That's my one. The top of the world mean for you? So if you could talk a little bit about your background and where you've got to, and thank you.
Just in case.
Thank you, sorry. Yeah, so if you talk about where, how you've gotten to the top of each of your games, what being at the top means for you, and, are you at the top now? Is there more to go? Let's start here.
I think it's an interesting theme. I definitely don't feel like I'm at the top of the world, even though possibly someone thinks I am. It's been a really long and varied journey for me, and I've just kind of followed what's been interesting to me, and I think it's changed over time. Very early on, I was interested in very individualistic things, like working on my own website, working on my own books and writing. And now that I've joined Canva, it's a lot more about a team effort and becoming top of the game as a team leader and collaborating with people and building something that's beyond myself.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your journey to get that. So originally you were kind of working on your own stuff, building websites, and then am I right in thinking you went to Google and then brought you to creating Canva? Yeah.
So originally I had a very strong technology and design background, which kind of let me work in a field that was pretty unique. No one else was really doing it at the time. And that let me explore a bunch of different things, experiment, eventually end up writing a few books about creativity and technology. And out of that, just ran my own web design agency for a long time. And then eventually, just purely by happenstance, ended up at Google and worked there for 4 years on a project called Google Wave, nice. Which at the time was a very cutting-edge, very technologically revolutionary thing. Ultimately didn't end up being a success, but out of that kind of built up my networks and managed to meet up with my two co-founders on Canva. And it was just a perfect marriage of minds. And over the past 6 years, we've managed to build up an amazing company.
And how many people are at the company now? And what sort of level of success in terms of size have you gotten to, just to give people a bit of a picture?
Yeah, so we started out with 3 people 6 years ago and have roughly doubled every year. So now we're up to 300. And that's spread across 2 offices, one in Sydney, Australia, one in Manila in the Philippines. And over that time, we now have over 10 million users. We have 53 million designs being created every month, so that's 20 every second, which is a pretty amazing statistic.
Yeah.
And earlier this year, we became Australia's first unicorn with a valuation of $1 billion.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now let's move over here to space travel, a natural segue, I'm sure. Tell us a bit about your journey to where you are now and what sort of being on top means for you.
Yeah, I don't know about. I hope I'm not on top right now. I hope there's better. I'm very happy, but I want to look forward to something. So I hope that things can keep getting better. But no, I was very fortunate. I had this little boy dream of growing up to be an astronaut, and was able to get there and enjoyed that. But it was always in the back of my mind that was going to have an ending at some point. You do it maybe as long as you can, but 18 years was how long I was an astronaut with two trips, and very grateful for all of that, 2 trips to space. But I think in my case, and I think it's this way for everyone, whether as an athlete maybe at some point you move on to something else, or in your entrepreneurial life you move on to something else. And I think it's important to have more than one dream in life, and so I always knew that day would come. I can't believe that my astronaut career is behind me now, because it always seemed like it would be unattainable. And when I was doing it, I enjoyed it so much. But it is now behind me. I left 4 years ago, and for me, I think what's important is just to keep trying to come up with something else that's going to keep you interested. And for me, it's been going into education at Columbia. I'm a professor there, and at the Intrepid Museum, I got to write a book, and I do speaking engagements, different places, and some television when the opportunity arises. And so for me, that's been kind of like a second way to be a communicator, an educator about STEM and and space travel, and I enjoy that. In some ways, I think I'm probably better suited to do that than I was to be an astronaut, because I was terrified a lot of the time, doing that stuff. It was great and enjoyable, but I think in some ways that set me up to be able to do this second career. And I always admired people that went from one dream job to the next, or one accomplishment to the next, and always kept going. And you may not get there, you might not quite get that same success all the time, but I think for me, the important thing was to try to do that, not to be settled or satisfied, no matter how much success you might have felt you have. Just keep trying.
And what did you have to do before you got to be an astronaut? So how many years of training did you go through to get there?
Yeah, no, it took me. I got rejected by NASA 3 times. I started applying when I was in grad school. I got one rejection, and then a couple years later I applied again. They would announce every couple of years they were looking for that. So I got rejected a second time. Then I applied a third time, and this time I got an interview. I was a finalist, and they got to know me really well. And then they rejected me. So it was a point. I can't believe it actually happened. So I think a lot of it is just perseverance. But I think perseverance in that case is really important, because once you get that opportunity, right? Once you really want this job, or you really want this opportunity, whatever that might be, that everyone here is trying to do all these wonderful things, and bang, now you got it.
Yeah.
You got whatever you were looking. But now then the work starts. You go through this, and for me, trying to get selected and sticking in there and not giving up, and then you get that job, and then your reward is hard work. So I think, and it's not going to get any easier. In fact, it's going to get more difficult. But so it's those things that got you to whatever that goal was, that got you that carrot, apple, that prize, and now you have to do that work. It's that same determination you need.
Yeah.
So when I was on my missions and we had things go wrong, you could not stop. You had to keep going. And I think that path prepares you to be successful once you get there.
Absolutely. And Brandon, sports. You're now the heavyweight championship at one championship. I said the word champion twice, which says it all.
I'll take it.
What's your journey been to get to this point? And do you believe you're on top? What's next for you?
I honestly never believe I am on top. I keep myself hungry, and I stay humble by always thinking I'm second. I still need to catch up to the first. And that's in all aspects of my life. When I first started this journey, I had no idea I would end up becoming a martial artist, and this would become my profession, let alone become a world champion. It started off as a nerdy fat kid in 6th grade. I got bullied into wrestling because I was so fat. My cousin told me if I didn't go to the wrestling practice, he would beat me up because I needed to lose weight. That became literally my journey of training, sports, learning how to rely on myself, learning that cliche that was in the Rocky movie, no matter how many times you get knocked down, get back up. And for me, I kind of dealt with my whole life that way. In business, training, wins, losses, heavy losses, surgeries, losing contracts. Like this sports game, the sports world is mean. It chews you up and spits you out pretty fast. And the way I stay where I am is I stay hungry, and I always pretend in the back of my mind that somebody's better than me and somebody's coming after me. The hardest part about staying on top is staying there. There's only one focal point for everybody to focus on, and that's you. You have to worry about all of them below you. So I put myself on that level with them, and I stare up at that top, and I reach for it every day. So from where I started to where I am now, that's how I climbed that ladder. Hard work and perseverance.
And so you think that sort of staying on top now is actually a challenge. How do you all sort of stay on top? At the moment you're in a really good place. What does that feel like? And how do you continue to have the motivation to sort of keep going?
I definitely feel like we've had some level of success, but it's definitely not on top. And every step we take, we discover more things that we can be doing and that we can improve upon and that we can be doing better. And that's really what drives us, is to fulfill our vision of empowering the world to design. There's so many things we have to do in there. And every day we realize that truly we've only done 1% of it and that we have another 99% to go. And in order to do that, we need to grow the company even further. We need to go from a company of 300 people to 1,000 people to maybe 10,000 people. And we need to hold the company together and make sure everyone works together and works collaboratively and works to that ultimate vision. And it's a really huge challenge, and I don't think it'll be one that's ever finished.
What's been some of the challenges along the way? Like, what have been the key hurdles for you that have made you question yourself a bit or what you're doing?
I mean, I think very initially you're not focused on market size, you're just focused on getting something out the door. So we spent a year building our product, and there were lots of hurdles along there. There was 3 of us at the beginning, and we didn't have every skill set that we needed to build a great product. So finding the people we needed and the people we could trust to build a company with was extremely important in those early days. And then you just have the trials and tribulations of life. I remember the day before we launched, I was busy coding in the office, and it was 8 p.m. I thought I should go home and see my kids and my wife, and jumped on my bicycle, which I do every day, and was heading down the hill from work, and a taxi came out and hit me. And I passed out. I woke up on the road, dripping blood onto the ground.
No.
And someone rushed over and somehow managed to call one of my co-founders, and they came down with their minivan, picked me up, took me to the hospital, and patched me up, and next day I was at the business.
It's gonna work.
And that stuff happens every day, either literally or figuratively. Like, you get hit by a taxi every day, and you just have to deal with it and find your way around it. And it just happens at different levels now.
We talk about getting knocked down, but that's pretty literal. So was the sort of NASA rejection one of the big moments for you? What about your challenges that you've had?
Well, you know, it's when you're, I guess like in your game, Brandon, it seems like when you're the champion, right? You're the one guy, but you had a team, I'm sure, to help you get there, right? So for us as astronauts at NASA, it was, and a lot of this from the military, which you were also a part of in your background, you know, the idea of success as a team. And you learn that in sports, but I think in the space business and in the military and I think in everywhere that nowadays things are so complicated, you need a team and you need to be a good team member in order to be successful. And so that was our goal at NASA, you know, and even when the rejection was, I got help. And even as a kid in school, when I had trouble in school, I got help, whether it was from a teacher or a tutor or some other friend that could help me. And I think it's important to reach out and get help when you need it and accept it and then give it when you can give it to other people. And that's a lesson I learned at a young age. And through the rejections at NASA and then trouble I had, even as an astronaut, the challenges I had, it was a whole new world for me. And some things were difficult, some things were easy, but we all helped each other get through. It's that team concept. And so for me, that's kind of an important lesson, a pillar of success. You can't do it alone. And as you're going into these new things, you're starting with your movie career and other things that are newer now, right? For me, writing a book, we were talking about this earlier. Like, what do I know about writing? I know nothing. I can fly a spaceship. That doesn't mean I can write a book. So when I tried to surround myself with experts that could help me, a good agent, a co-writer, and people, and the publisher and editor, and so on. I think that whatever new thing you're going to go into, whatever that new challenge is, I think the things that got you successful in that one success, for me, it was always a team to help me and for me to be a part of. And even when you may think it's individual, it's really not. It's still getting that team together that you can be a part of. And you might be the focal point of it, but still, to me, it's that team concept of working together to make you successful that I think makes life enjoyable and leads to success. Trying to do it alone is a recipe for disaster, and I've found.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you were just saying you flew a spaceship, but you couldn't write. I can write. I'm thinking maybe I can fly a spaceship.
Yes,
it seems to be the lesson here.
But I can help you fly a spaceship, and you can help me writing together. We could get something done that way. So.
And what about you? What lessons have you learned along the way, and what have been your big challenges that you've had to overcome?
Just touching on what you said, I am a heavyweight champion of the world. It is just myself, when I'm competing that night in the event. But this journey from me to get there, dating from all the way back when my very first sponsor was asking me how come I wasn't going to a tournament, my answer was because I could not afford gas money. My first sponsor was just a guy literally giving me gas money. To be successful in anything, you can't do it by yourself. I'm a world champion today because I'm standing on a lot of shoulders. I've had a lot of people help me get me here, a lot of people that put time, money, energy, and faith into me. And I guess I use that as a driving force as well, because that would be my solid team. My support system, from my wife to my family to my teammates to my training partners to my physical therapists, all of them are part of one team. My job is to stay successful so I can hold the team together, so that I can keep our company together. And like we were all saying up here, you're not good at everything. You better pick and choose your battles and delegate your other responsibilities to people that are better than you. So to stay on top, use your team wisely. And thank you, gentlemen, for reiterating that as well. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So, I mean, even though we're saying sort of pick your battles or pick your challenges, you're taking on a new one now with being in films. So how does it feel, or, how do you, how does it feel trying something that's out of your comfort zone, and how do you stay on top with that?
So I've actually finished. We're doing a promotion. I'm flying out to New York tomorrow. Our first film is coming out. It's an international release called By Bust. First movie I've done. I am not the lead. I am second. And it took 2 years to shoot, releasing in the States first, then coming over to Asia. And I don't know how to be on top of this industry yet. I'm still learning the industry, how to read lines, how to do acting, I'm the rookie on set. And everybody on set is helping me the whole time, making sure that I don't fall flat on my face. And if I do, they let me dust myself off, walk it off, and shoot it again. So I'm really excited about this new endeavor that we're doing in the entertainment world, movies, acting, the whole gambit. But it's a new business, and I'm learning a lot. So I'm just taking it in stride one day at a time and learning.
Yeah.
On one of our previous projects, we always joked about who would play each other in a movie. And my one was always The Rock. He would play me because we're almost like identical twins. But now that I've met Brandon, he's coming in.
I'll be your stunt double.
All right.
I love that. One of the questions I wanted to get onto is how each of you in this, in every part of this journey, how you've dealt with pressure, because I think everyone in this room is kind of striving for a level of success at some point, but it does get hard. So how do you personally deal with the pressure of succeeding or the workloads or anything that you've gone through? How about you?
I think the key for me with pressure, and it's hard for me, I'm kind of an introverted person, but communicating with people is always the ultimate way of relieving pressure. And often you'll bottle it up, you'll try and shoulder the burden by yourself, but often having a conversation with my wife or being frank and open with my co-founders about a problem we're having or something that I think is going wrong is always the best way to relieve that.
I like that bit of advice, Mike.
Yeah, I agree. I think that if you keep it to yourself, in my case, I don't know if it works for everybody, but in my case, if I keep it to myself, I'm in trouble. And we talked already about teamwork, but for me, it's there again that if you consider yourself as part of a team, then the pressure can be shared, right? If you look at I've got to do everything, I'm responsible for everything. Maybe you think I'm the most important one. I'm the only one that can do that. Or I've got to. That's when I think you run into trouble, and I think that's when the pressure will eat you up. I think that when you look at life or whatever it is you're working on, that as a team, and whether or not if I may screw up my part of it, but I have my teammate there who can pick me up, or maybe I can help my teammate score the point or do whatever they're going to do to be successful as a team. I might not have the lead role here, right? But I'm going to help the team be successful. And if you look at it in that way, I think it takes that pressure off. And if you're feeling the pressure individually, I agree. I think the best thing to do is try to let people know about it, get some help, and I think that's all. To me, that all has to do with that's my definition. Again, like maybe a different form of teamwork, but it's still there, and that helps you alleviate that pressure. Yeah. Share it.
What about you? I mean, you're literally in the ring. All lights are on you, and how do you deal with that?
So how do I deal with the pressure?
Yeah.
Right when they call my name to come out, I throw up. That's a true story, by the way, just so you know. The pressure in my job is different because there's a physical pain that's attached if I fail. But the pressure I keep, I do have a team, but I keep most of it. I eat most of it until I can't anymore. And then I will confide in my wife first, and then move on to who I need to talk to next, team leaders of other parts, my head coach in this section. But I tend to eat it and hold it in because I don't want to show weakness to any of my teammates. That's a plus and a minus because all the extra pressure could be spread out. But I'm in a different business, is what I do. So I would definitely ask of you to try all facets. Ask for help, try to hold it in, see if you can figure it out on yourself. But the one thing I would definitely not recommend is to take whatever is causing you the headache and react on it. That's a huge problem, especially when you're doing startup businesses or startup anything. That leads to a rash decision that's going to mess you up later down the road.
Yeah, we've got under 2 minutes left, so I'm going to ask each of you to very quickly, if there was one bit of advice that you could pass on to someone who's kind of striving or is, specifically within a startup or is starting up something new, what piece of advice would you give?
For me, it's a bit of a recurrent theme, but a lot of my life has been about a journey of self-awareness and understanding what I'm good at, what I'm not good at, and who I need to help me with that. And I think when we started Canva, it was the perfect meeting of minds, and it was just like the jigsaw puzzles all coming together. All three of us had our own strengths and our own weaknesses, and each of us cancelled those out. So finding that team, finding those people you can trust, and even in a more extended sense, having a great family and support around you as well is vitally important as well.
I would say don't give up. There's a difference between whatever you're trying to do and the people here are trying to do amazing things that are difficult. That doesn't mean they're impossible. It means it's unlikely. The chances of my getting a chance to be fortunate enough to be selected as an astronaut were low. The probability was low. If you looked at it as a number, it's 0.00. It was a lot of zeros. I don't know how many, but a lot of them after the decimal point, and a 1. But there's a 1 at the end, and that means it's non-zero. And the only way that 1 turns to a 0 and you will not be successful is if you give up. If you give up, your probability of success is 0. So hang in there.
Yeah.
For me, really cliche, still from Rocky, and it's literal in my job, but in all businesses, get up. Get up. Get off the floor. Get up. Go do it again. If that's something that you really, really love, if you are pursuing something that you love, not something that you like or something that's going to pay off big later on, if this is something that you love, even if your company is struggling, get up, get up, get up. Figure it out. Go ask for help. But please get up. Get up and try again.
Thank you very much, guys. And thank you all for listening.